So here we've got the very first Turnstone guitar and the 100th Turnstone guitar. Now, I've been in the background over the last 15 years plus seeing all this happen, and it's been such a privilege to have that access and be part of it. And now I'm going to ask Rosie some questions to try and share it with you. That's your very first guitar that you ever completed as a Turnstone guitar. And this is number 100 right here that we completed recently. What do you feel when you see these two guitars together?
There's definitely an underlying sense of pride that I've got this far. To see them kind of in their physical presence together, it's an emotional thing for me to see because it's kind of encapsulating a journey. It's one of those moments where you can kind of just sit back and kind of realise where you've got. So often you are thinking about the next step forward, that it really is important, I guess, to enjoy these moments, and pride, I think is the simple answer.
Yeah, I mean, 100 guitars for any luthier is a big milestone. But let's start with the first one. And can you just take us through a bit of the journey that took you to finishing that guitar?
Yeah, so this actually, from when I wanted to start building guitars, it was actually 4 years until I'd finished my first one, which kind of, as I say, it sounds kind of ridiculous. But it was my first extreme exercise in learning patience. The reason it took so long was I started at an evening course at the London Metropolitan University. That was a once a week evening, 2 hours I think a week I was going along, so it was very, very slow progression, and obviously having no hand woodworking skills, I was starting from the very beginning. 1 year into that, then I kind of started to feel that this was something that I wanted to pursue more actively. I found a repairer on Denmark Street that I could spend weekends working with, doing some repairs, learning that side of things. And then it wasn't until 2 years into the evening course I started an internship with a London maker, and the evening class guitar, we decided to stop that and actually start again in the internship so that I could build hopefully to a higher level. So that guitar was discarded, and obviously, as you know, I was doing the ukulele in our spare bedroom at the same time. So yeah, essentially there were guitars that started and stopped, but this was the very, very first guitar that I completed. And yes, that was 2 years into my internship. So 4 years before I got to strum any kind of chord on my first guitar.
Yeah, that's quite some time. I mean, that time you turned our spare room into a workshop was quite interesting for any guests that stayed over.
It certainly was. I'd like to think that it was dedication on my part, but yes, them having to sacrifice their room for my workshop, I would humbly try to put a rug or something over the bandsaw to make it seem a little bit more homely. But it was an avenue where I was like, I need more experience. What can I do? Okay, let's start building a ukulele in our spare room, in our flat, just as something that I could do around my work that could help progress me forward.
I remember you coming home quite often from building this guitar being pretty upset quite often because of just the challenges that get presented when building acoustic guitars to pretty high level. I mean, even for your first instrument, it was well executed. So yeah, do you want to just remind us about some of that and talk through what those challenges were?
I've never been pushed nor pushed myself as much as this guitar signifies, I guess. So yeah, you saw kind of the harder end of that, where I was just pushed to the point where I felt like I couldn't get to where I needed to in some of the skills that were required. So in that sense, it was I would say the hardest thing that I've ever pursued in my life, but equally that gave me, I think, a good foundation because it has continued to test me. So it's kind of gearing up that resilience that's required to be able to, you know, perform to the standard that's required at a professional level, but equally from, you know, just simply running a business from that sense of things, you know, that requires resilience and tenacity that I think something as complicated as a guitar really does give a good foundation, because pushing myself past possibly the point of reasoning in pursuit of this, where some people could be like, why are you even, you know, potentially walk away, that was this craft ignited something in me that I have never experienced before, in that sense that I could, obviously through your support as well, just keep going back and saying, actually no, I'm gonna give it another shot and I'm gonna do it. So I think that's laid the foundation for me to go forward.
What did it feel like when you finally finished this guitar?
Yeah, I think it was overwhelming and emotional, and a sense of accomplishment that 4 years in the making, I'm not sure I could ever replicate or want to replicate again. But yeah, when I look back on it and, you know, look at the work that I did, I actually look back with pride, like seeing kind of the level of workmanship that I pushed myself to in this guitar. You know, I'm still proud of to this day, and it set a foundation for me to move forward from, that I think has enabled me to reach the levels that I have with the guitar that you have in front of me. So it's a nice reminder of kind of what I went through to produce this, as a motivation factor to always keep pushing forward.
So we've been through the journey of how you got to this guitar a little bit, but can you talk us through the actual instrument itself?
So the design of the instrument is actually something I designed myself. It's a small-bodied guitar. It was something that I've never owned as a guitar player. I've never owned or had never owned a small-bodied instrument. So it was a size that I was kind of interested in exploring. And conceptually, it was pretty much just designed from scratch, i.e. no kind of plans or sense of traditional values, I guess. It wasn't kind of where I drew my inspiration from. It was literally, I want a small bodied instrument. I want it to kind of have the fullness of sound that sometimes small instruments can lack. I want it to feel comfortable in my arms, and I just want to have a bit of fun with design elements of things that I'd never kind of explored before. So it was a sense of freedom, I think, sometimes you have at the earlier stage in your career when you're kind of not bound by any expectation. So there was an ability to kind of be playful with the approach as well. So materials wise, I kept things pretty traditional, because that is maybe the one thing to say is when you kind of start out, it does pay to use tried and tested materials. So as you can see here, I've got a Sitka spruce soundboard, Indian rosewood back and sides, mahogany neck. So keeping everything kind of pretty standard as far as that's concerned with the rosewood fretboard and bridge. But the designs and things like that, I was more experimental rather than kind of sticking to tried and true, tested, more traditional designs. So this is kind of a modern take on a rosette with kind of the split rosette in half here, using I think Brazilian tulip wood for the wood in the rosette, and that was obviously used in the fret markers as well. And that was kind of my start as well, from an aesthetic sense, is building some cohesion into the instrument. So whereas you can see in the 100 guitar, we've got kind of the rosette and the fretboard inlay kind of being interjoined. The same thing is still true here with the Brazilian tulip wood here used in the rosette and in the fret markers. although there was one aspect to this instrument which I think I didn't pay attention to at the time, was spending a lot of time concentrating on the fret markers centrally. Then when I actually came to play the guitar for the first time, I realised that I didn't accommodate for side fret markers. So that was a lesson learned there in kind of actually thinking from the player's perspective, the practicalities versus the visuals is an important balance to strike.
Yeah.
The headstock here, as you can see, it's the very first iteration of the Turnstone bird. Obviously, the proportions of the headstock have changed and refined, so it's quite nice, or it's funny, I guess, in a certain sense, to go back and kind of just look at the proportions of the headstock and kind of seeing the evolution. It's happened slowly, but when you kind of go back, you can really see the difference in kind of how things have just become more refined. But fundamentally, the bird was always something that was important to me, and that has remained unchanged, but things have just slightly evolved and become a bit more refined, which is kind of, again, a nice thing to see with these guitars coming together. 12 fret join guitar, the scale length on this I believe is 635 millimeters, so a slightly shorter scale length for a small bodied instrument. Also got a side sound port here, again wanting to kind of, or feeling the excitement of designing your guitar for the first time. You want to put in things that you haven't experienced before. I'd never had a side sound port in any of my guitars, so I was like, oh, that's so exciting, let's put it in and start experimenting with all of these types of things. On the back of the headstock there's a lovely quilted maple veneer, and that, I mean, again, I can think all the hours that I spent over the tiny little nuance of the volute, learning that skill. It's that type of thing that kind of makes a custom guitar so special, these little details, but also kind of the skill needed to execute them to a high standard. That's instantly what comes back to me when I'm looking at these details.
I know that one of the things you've always said you love about building guitars is visualizing it and then building it. Did you achieve that?
I think in the sense of the accomplished feeling of finishing it, and it obviously the myriad of things of it actually working, and the shock of the sound that it makes, is an initial kind of a surprise, and a very proud feeling. But I guess that's also balanced by the fact that the things that need to progress, that the feeling that, like I look back on this and I can see the workmanship level is good, but there's aspects that, needed improving. Even now, progressing forward, there is always that sense of wanting to improve and doing the best you can and being happy with that, but knowing that there's always improvements and progress to be made. I'm looking at the 100th guitar here, and I can see all the tiny little steps that but also you and I, as we have been working together, the steps that we've taken to refine everything, the bridge design, the fretboard design, but everything inside that can't be seen, all of those are a result of the tiny improvements that we've made, stepping stones with each guitar that's come out. It's a joy to witness the finish as well, which obviously you play a big part in. This was probably again the last moment of tears with this, eventually going for a satin finish. That obviously is years and years of work, learning how to spray finish, gloss buffing. Again, too much to talk about just briefly, but that is, again, a sense of pride of kind of having gone through all that and come out the other side.
I mean, another thing I remember you being quite frustrated about was you would often see people doing, a 1 month or even 1 week guitar building course and ending up with a full acoustic guitar. So what was different about your 4 years to that 1 week or 1 month of intense guitar course to build a guitar?
Yeah, I would often ask myself the same thing in those months leading up to finishing this guitar. questioning, why is it taking me 4 years, and some people are going to a school where they're building a guitar in a month. And the difference was I was starting kind of right from scratch, building everything, learning the hand skills to square up a piece of wood, to join a top, to understand wood as its fundamental property and everything, all of those things that just takes years to learn. I think the courses that people go on are great when you are restricted for time, but it is essentially putting pieces of a puzzle together. And I think to pursue this as a career, I am so grateful for the fact that I did actually spend those years kind of learning everything, and the time to get the hand skills to be good at woodwork is a muscle memory, much like a sport or a musical instrument play. It's a muscle memory thing, and it takes years. And that, obviously, in hindsight, is kind of, I can look back philosophically, but at the time, it was just, it's just the resilience to kind of be like, I just will keep doing it, because that's my goal, to finish this guitar, and whatever's necessary, I will do it.
This is now the 100th Turnstone, and it's slightly different to what many people might do for their 100th instrument. Can you talk us through the philosophy of it and the guitar itself?
Yeah, so many makers may choose to do something ornate or extravagant for their 100th instrument, but what I wanted to do was actually, through the Select series and this new kind of approach and methodology to building in small batches, is something that actually is extremely exciting for myself and for us as a company. So to tie that in with the 100th instrument was kind of a way for us to say, actually, this is something that we're really, really excited about. Something that I've always wanted from the outset was to have as many people as possible playing Turnstone guitars. Like the music that comes out of the instrument is what excites me. So the more guitars that there are out there actually is a truly wonderful thing. And the Select series is something that has enabled us to do that. So that's basically kind of a celebration of the future of our company. But equally, the custom stuff is still going to be a huge, important part of what we do. This as well, kind of using sustainable tone woods, is something that I think is hugely important for the industry as a whole. And if I can promote the use of them through this series as well, that's something I think that should be notably celebrated. So for that to be our 100th instrument, I just think is a truly wonderful thing, and something for us to actually make a statement about.
So yeah, talking about the tone woods, can you take us through them, why you chose them, and just the detailed specs?
Yeah, so the soundboard on this one is a Swiss Moon spruce, which is something that we've used on many of our custom instruments. It's a great soundboard of European grown spruce. It's got a really kind of sweet attack, clarity that kind of is synonymous with this kind of spruce, something I've got a lot of experience with, so I kind of feel like I know what I can do with it. The back and sides is Catalox, which is the wood that I actually used on Martin Simpson's recent custom build. It's again a very kind of sustainable but equally kind of a high quality tone wood that has a really nice sustain and depth and reflectiveness about it, again, that I kind of just felt confident that it's going to build a wonderful instrument. The fact that it is a sustainable wood as well is a huge advantage for the future as well, because we want these woods to be around, and the one way that we can ensure that might be the case is if the woods are being replanted in a sustainable manner. The fretboard and the bridge are, again, FSC sustainable ebony. The neck is mahogany. And this is our TG model, so one of our most all-round popular models, which can be fairly versatile and adaptable for different playing styles. So we thought this was kind of a good place to start. It's a 650 millimeter scale length, which is the longer scale length that we offer on all of our models. And the visual aesthetic is something that's going to be consistent with all of the Select series guitars. So the 2-ring kind of interlocking was a design that I came up with, but actually I liked the kind of the feeling of the interlocking of the rosette, to the point that we reflected that also in an inlay on the 12th fret.
So being English is just built into you that taking praise is quite difficult and awkward at the time. But what's it like having people say to you your guitars are wonderful and, you know, all the great things that people do say?
I think people who generally just give good feedback, that is always wonderful. I think from a workmanship level, if there is somebody who's very skilled at what they do, perhaps in a different medium, that notices things about my work, again, that is especially nice. But I would probably say the feedback that I get from the clients and the customers that I am building guitars for, when I get their feedback, obviously we've been through a journey together, starting from scratch. They've had faith in me from the outset to build something that hasn't been created yet. The feedback that I get from them is probably the ultimate feedback for me.
So I'm going to push you though. Name one that's really stood out for you.
I would probably say the recent custom build with Martin Simpson was huge for me, to work with somebody who is such a master of his craft in what he does, to know that what I did for him resonated, for want of a better explanation. That was the ultimate feedback a guitar maker can get.
It's got so much space in it that you can just really hear the way that the guitar, I mean that. You don't have to play a lot.
But equally, the two customers that we had in that same batch, you know, they had their personal journeys that connected to the guitars that I built for them.
So thinking about the next 100 guitars again, what definitely won't change?
I think my openness to evolution is acceptance of change, but what that's always underpinned by is the quality must never drop and always improve. If our processes adapt, it will always be with the improvement of quality and not compromising that quality at any expense.
I'm moving next door, I'm going to a bigger workshop, and this is my first workshop, and I'd like to take a look, for you to take a look for nostalgic reasons, for us to look back in time and see where the beginnings of Turnstone Guitar Company were.
It's just been amazing to be, you know, alongside you over this entire journey and see everything that you've pushed through, and then to come in and work with you on it's been brilliant. I've absolutely loved it. Like you said, you know, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of resilience, but it's totally worth it. And while I never set out in life thinking I would do anything related to building guitars, it's been pretty life-changing for me, to be honest. And you know, I couldn't be happier than in here building guitars with you and thinking about what we're going to do in the future with this company and with these guitars and people playing them. And I just can't wait, really.
Yeah, I mean, same goes for me. You know, although I always had your support, and to be honest, without it, I don't think I would be here today. But that's evolved from a moral support to, you know, being actively involved in this business, and it being, you know, our family business. And it's kind of, I think it's a truly unique and special thing that we've created. And yeah, I can't wait to see what the next 100 guitars brings.